seal. Sometimes it be so hot in the car that my phone will do that, and I try to have it up in the window seal. And I don't know why I keep doing that. I keep forgetting that it's gonna run hot, but now I got it on the steering wheel, so I should be good now. Steering wheel is
That's great, man.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, for a moment I was talking. There were still people there, but I was like, Larry seemed to pause for a moment. I'm like, that's a long pause.
yeah. Okay, y'all. Well, we're gonna do another one. That's fine. That other one is still on there, so it'll still be on there. I don't know why it won't pick up where it left off. It don't do that. But y'all, I got a special guest in here today. Cool, cool. Good friend of mine. I've worked with. Been knowing this guy. Feel like a lifetime. Been knowing him for about 4 years. Real good guy, y'all. Let's welcome Cool in here today. Cool, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Well, I'm cool. I worked with Larry for about a year and a half. We used to throw cases together, and we'll have like a this so you can get to the end of the pallet first for the other person.
Right. Yeah, this is a good guy here. So Cool, tell him what's on your mind, man. Tell him what's on your mind today.
So believing in unbelief, knowing that we go through these struggles, but everybody knows that there's a God that does exist, even from a believer to a non-believer, and
Right.
we gotta have to trust and believe that everything's gonna be okay because we're only given what we can handle, and at the same time, we still have to use our common knowledge because we can ask for faith and for trust and belief and for help, but then the way that we live our life, there's times that we just go with what we want to do right away, but we don't think about what's going to happen in the end. And
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely correct what Cool just said, y'all. A lot of times we go to God and we ask God to why is this happening to me? But we have to a lot of times, y'all, like Cool just said, we have to ask ourselves, well, what are we doing? We want God to give us all these blessings, but how are we living our life? We got to look at how we live in our life before we go to God and asking God to bless us with stuff. We have to take a look in the mirror first at our own selves. So He's telling the absolute truth right there, y'all. So we got to change the way we living before we start asking God to bless me with this, bless me with that. We got to first change the way we're living first. Okay, cool. Go ahead, brother.
yeah, and there's times that when we ask God to help us out, like help us get through the issue, it doesn't seem like God's helping, but then He's working a little bit at a time, and we just don't see it yet. But then at the same
Exactly.
time, we have to do our part as well. Because, for example, if I was like, you know what, Larry, I like to make $1 million, then if God say He'll provide, I'm just gonna stay home and relax, and God will make it happen. And at that point, you're like, Larry, what you say?
Exactly. So it's basically like faith without works is dead. Is that what you're saying there? Cool. Let me get these shout outs out real quick.
Oh
Cheryl.
yeah,
What's going on, Cheryl? Katie Boosie. Cheryl, what's going on? Katie Boosie. How y'all doing? Maddie Treon, how you doing? Katie Boosie. How we doing? Yeah, only 3 people so far, but we got a good conversation going on here, y'all. Got my good friend Koo here, y'all. Good friend, good brother of mine, brother from another mother. Let's welcome him. Welcome Koo in, y'all. Y'all do us a favor too. Hit the like, share, subscribe button. That way, when we drop these videos, y'all are the first to be notified. Y'all do us a favor today. Okay, cool. Go ahead, brother.
and I think the other part would be, we all, most likely, all of us have a job. We all go to work, and there's times in that car that we're driving, and we're hoping we're like, you know what, it's gonna be a good day, or we're going through a struggle. And I'm like, for me, I was like, you know what? Let me listen to some like Christian music. Maybe I'll be happier that way.
Right.
And back then, before I made peace with God, I was like, turn on some Christian music, some jammy music. You know what? Maybe I feel better. And then I was like, halfway to work, I'm like, man, I still feel depressed. What's going on here?
Yeah.
And then I kept on. I didn't go to church. I stopped going to church because I was like, you know what? If God was really there, why would He let me go through this situation?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, like, I thought about it. I was like, I told my coworkers. They asked me, like, so cool. How'd you get to Amazon? They're like, where'd you come before? I'm like, well, I used to work at Walgreens and I'll open the stores up and I'll count medicine and count money. And they're
Right.
like, how much did you make? I was like, honestly, I made 1,400. 6 years. I got told couldn't I couldn't go 6 years of when you can have everything you ever wanted in life.
That's absolutely right.
What else do you ever
Exactly.
want?
I'm sorry.
And
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother.
and the other part is like if you're if you're like upset with your job, if you're mad at what you're doing, you're not satisfied with it. There's friends who I have who be like straight up, they call me like, guess what, man? I just quit my job. I'm like, well, do you have a backup? You're like, no, I'm gonna wait off. I'm gonna find a job, and I'm like, let me give you some advice, buddy, of how is like, what is it? Even though you hate your job, and if you quit, who's gonna pay the bills? At least find a job first, and
That,
then leave that job.
see, that's a cool.
But go ahead.
Cool made a good example right there, y'all. A lot of times we gotta think before we act, y'all. We gotta think before we act. We can't just make rational decisions because you get mad. You gotta remember at the end of the day, you still got bills. The topic for today, y'all, is making what the topic gonna be. Cool. What should the topic be today? What we gonna,
The topic today, I think, uh, I guess it would be more than one. It'd be having trust,
having
having faith, and no.
having trust, y'all. That's a good one. So basically, y'all, okay. So if you're in a bad relationship and you constantly trying to make things work, and you see that it's not working, I mean, we can pray. But if you see that there's nothing moving, I'm talking in a relationship, we have to learn to know when God is trying to, God moves at his own time, and we do have to understand that too. But we can't be a doormat. What I basically mean by that, if you're in a toxic relationship and you don't pray to God and you asking him to change him or her to change and nothing's happening, we have to at some point use our gift of discernment, and we got to know when to move on. But when it's something with our own life, we got to look at, okay, we keep saying, God bless me with this, God bless me with that. But what are we willing to do for God? Like you just said, a lot of times we give up on going to church and stuff like that. If we're giving up on God, then why do we want God not to give up on us? You know what I'm saying? We got to continue to follow Christ, because if we stop worshiping God and we just start doing a lot of godly things, God will snatch that stuff away from us. Because God is a jealous guy. God is jealous, so he don't like when we stop giving to him and we start giving to a lot of worldly things, y'all. A lot of times we got to understand that God, like I said, he's jealous. He don't want us. If he start blessing us with materialistic things or waking us up, and you start praising another God, God don't like that. He wants to be the one to get all the praise and the thanks at the end of the day, y'all. Let's learn to be grateful for the small things. Go ahead, Coop.
Give is blessing me. To me would be like, and you, and if you said it to the God, it was from
Okay. God, cool. I don't mean to cut you off. I don't mean to cut you off. It sounds like your
praising.
phone. It sounds like it's kind of going in
Yeah,
and out
good.
a little bit. See if you can adjust it a little bit. It sounds like you're kind of going in and out.
Yeah, it's like that right now because, well, I live
Oh,
in the
okay.
country, so I literally have little to no
Okay.
service.
Yeah, so that's a good topic, right? That's a
Yeah.
good way you just said it. So explain to some of the people what blasphemy means. Some people may not know what that means. Explain to them what blasphemy means.
Well, if you're going to like a struggle, if you're a family member or if you're sick and you guys and you pray and there's sometimes it won't happen, but when it does happen, that God cures you, or if God says that it's time to go home, and then You get cured, you go home, and your loved one goes home, and then they're like, "Oh, God didn't do that. Someone else did that." And at that point, that's something that God won't ever forgive because we know that God would cure somebody,
Hmm.
and we know that Satan won't ever cure anyone. He might do it temporary, but he won't fully do it
Right.
because like whenever something good happens, whenever a good thing happens, everybody's like, "Oh, that's a good thing, praise God." But then whenever something bad happens, we blame God as well, right?
Exactly. You made a good point right there, Koo. So basically, what Koo is saying, he's basically saying is it's almost like Koo, if you do something for me, I'm gonna use myself an example. That's like if you do something
Yeah,
nice and then all of a sudden, let's say you give me $1 to play the scratch off and I hit it, and then I say, man, I go thanking everybody else but you. You gave me the dollar. If it wasn't for you giving me the dollar, I would have never hit the scratch off. So that's how God is. If He the one who woke us up in the morning, but we giving our praise to somebody else, God don't like that. He want to be the one to get all the praise for what He's doing. That's just like if we go on the job and we do the job, but somebody else is taking credit for our work, that would make us feel some type of way. That's how God feels, y'all. When He does things for us, He wants to be acknowledged. So we got to stop, giving praise to false witnesses and giving praises to people who are not God. Sometimes, y'all, we worship people who are not gods, and we sometimes we worship materialistic things. Some people like to worship clothes, jewelry. They pray into their car and stuff like that. God does not like that type of stuff. You know, like you just said, that's He don't some stuff He don't forgive. Blasphemy when you saying, oh, the car woke me up this morning or my alarm woke me up. You giving all your praise to materialistic things when in reality, God is what done it. If I'm making sense, cool. What I'm saying there, that makes sense. Yeah.
um, like even though when I go to doctors and they check my blood pressure and they're like, "Man, you got a really high blood pressure," and they're like, "You're gonna have a horrible death, cool." And I was like, "You're only 35." I'm like, "Well, it is what it is." But I know that God has it in His hands, and I'm not gonna worry about it because they said because I got a lot of friends who ask me, "So you get heart problems, but you still go to work and you still have fun? Why don't you just stay home?" I'm like, you won't ever really know how it feels like until it happens to you, and then you're gonna ask yourself like, "There's the reason why Ku doesn't stay home is because I could stay home, I could be depressed and be upset at myself and get upset at God, but then at that point, how a lot of people will stay home and be depressed and
Right.
have health problems, and eventually they'll pass away slowly, no, quickly,
Right.
because they're so into thinking that mindset that my health is gonna kill me, so I'm just gonna stay home and get depressed.
And that's
Go right ahead, Larry. I
oh, I'm
got you, man.
sorry about that, cool. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. Uh,
No,
What
no, you're
you
fine.
just said makes a lot of sense, y'all. A lot of times we go through life and we be depressed about things. Depression kills, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Like Koo just explained. Koo, that was a good point. A lot of times if we sit back and fester on things too much, it tends to run our blood pressure up. Number one, and then we sit like I said, we fester, and we sit around to be depressed instead of finding a hobby, y'all. When we get like that, when we get down and out, we have to find something to do with our time. We can't just sit around and fester on it because that's what the devil wants. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So when we sit around and we fester on things, that's when the devil comes in, y'all. So like Koo just said, whenever y'all feel like that, you got to find a hobby. Find something that you want to do, y'all. When some of y'all thinking about committing suicide and stuff like that, it's not good. Find something you want to do. Sometimes, y'all, you gotta, and sometimes, y'all, the music and stuff we listen to, believe it or not, it's demonic. So people who are already having suicidal thoughts and stuff, the last thing you want to do is listen to demonic music and stuff, doing demonic things, watching demonic type of movies. When you have that type of mindset, you want to do stuff that's peaceful. Okay, cool. It's yours. It's yours.
hobby. So trying to we people who drink a lot because they're stretching out pretty well because sooner or later it may you may no longer be here because of the
Right.
alcohol too. Alcohol, being drunk because you're going through a tough time. It says it does numb it, but then that type of life.
That's right. So sometimes y'all like who
Yeah.
just said, we all go through things, y'all, but we can't learn. We can't learn every time things get high. Some of us want to pick up a blunt and smoke it, drink and get high. Because all that's gonna happen is once you get over that, once you sober down and all of that, now you're gonna realize you don't spend a bunch of money on things you don't need. Oh, I hear a lot of people say, I'm gonna smoke and I'm gonna drink. But once the high wears off, guess what? Now you still got those problems. That's why it's best to just, like you say, meditate, give it to God, and pray about it and leave it alone. We got to learn to quit digging things up out of the grave. I'm guilty of this right here, Q, where sometimes I'll pray about something like I was telling you before, and if I'm being redundant, I apologize. A lot of times I pray about something, and then I'll dig it up back out of the grave. God don't want us to do that. Once we give it to Him, we gotta learn. We gotta learn to let Him, deal with it. We gotta learn to let Him deal with it and let it be that. Because God can't move us forward in life if we keep festering on things that don't already happen. He can't do that. He can't. He will not bless us if we constantly fester on things in the past. We gotta learn to let the past be the past. We gotta learn to do that. All right, cool.
It would be we can tell our friends and our family that we're doing really well, but we're just lying to ourselves that we're doing well because only we know that what we're going through. For example,
Right, right.
and that's one of the examples that I would have to give because I've seen all his videos, a lot of comedy, and he seemed really happy. But I think, and I believe that everybody has their own little room that is just covered darkness of what they won't let go of the past.
We all do, cool. We all guilty of that. Everybody, we call that skeletons in the closet. Everybody has skeletons in the closet. That means it could be something that they've done in the past, or there's something that they're currently having. If somebody get on here right now and tell me that they don't have no skeletons in the closet, that's a lie. Either one or two things: they haven't been living long enough, or they just telling the flat out lie. Everybody has skeletons in their closet, something that they've done that they're ashamed of, or which they can take back. And a lot of times, like you just said, Koo, a lot of times the problem is we try to go back and relive that. If it's in the closet, it's in there for a reason, y'all. We have to learn once we have skeletons in our closet, they're in there for a reason. A lot of times we like to try to pull those old skeletons out of the closet. And we got to stop doing that. Okay, let me read some of these comments right quick, Koo. Y'all, I want y'all to welcome Koo in here. Jason Phillips. I got my good friend Koo in the house. Welcome him in, y'all. Welcome him in. Welcome him in. We're having a great day, Jason. We're having a great day. Me and Koo are having a great day. Hope you're having a great day. Okay, Koo. Take over, brother.
And like the other part I went over is like finding out that I had heart failure in 2015 and being upset with God, and that drive from work and home. I'll get up in the morning and I pray and ask God. I'm like, God, I really want that peace and that my childhood, that peace I had when I was little back. And I believe if I have that peace of mind and that peace with God of that childhood that I had when I was little,
Right.
I'll feel a lot better. And I kept on praying about it. And it took time. It wasn't a 1 day or 2 day thing. And I made peace with God. And honestly, I don't really even feel my heart problem anymore or think about it unless it's brought up. And then when I'm going to the doctors, they tell me about it,
That's
and I
it.
give them a heads up. But then knowing how to move on in life, making peace with God, and knowing that for my time here, I'm gonna continue to live because there's so much more to live for than to be depressed and be upset when you're going through life struggles and knowing that you can always ask for advice, but if you don't ever that that room is all gonna be there, but if you open the door and then you let go of that darkness of the past, but you know that further on in life, you know what you've been through and you stop playing with fire, it won't burn anymore.
That's right. Cool made a very good point, y'all. What basically Cool is saying is we have to learn to let bygones be bygones. And what you're saying right now, Cool, I am guilty of this, man. There's been plenty of times where I call myself letting things go, but like I said, I dig back into my bag, I dig back into the trash. But let me pull that back out. Things I did years ago, and then I find myself like God will block it too. Sometimes y'all, God be protecting us sometimes, cool. Because sometimes we call ourselves trying to dig back into the doggy bag, and there's a reason why those bones are in the trash. Sometimes it's been times where I try to dig old things back up, and God will block it. You ever notice that, cool? When you try to dig back and do your old habits, God will block them. You ever notice that sometimes? Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the funny part was, my I'm really close to my family,
Right.
and those sermons would say when I'm at home, I listen to it, but then when I'm driving 1 hour, 2 hours a certain way, I get time to listen to it because we can listen to music and to pump us up, but in reality, those videos, those evolution worship, those all the preachings, if you listen to the right ones, you'll feel a positive impact in your life.
That's right.
And if you're driving, you can't really go anywhere but look forward and listen.
Right.
And it's helped me a lot. And you know, I do attend church on Sundays. I go and I help teach Sunday school,
That's good.
and I sing in service. And it's like I used to go to a Asian church, and trust me, they judged me so badly because my parents are separated that I stopped going there for 2 years. And I take out the trash a lot for my family. And I went to the trash dump, met a friend named Chris. Chris was like, "Cool, God's telling me to invite you to go back to church." And I'm like, "Well, haven't been in church in 2 years." And he's like, "Come to me this one Wednesday, because I know you get Wednesday. I'll come to church with me Wednesday night Bible study."
Right. Right.
And trust me, my pastor would knock you off your socks, would knock you back into reality.
Right. Right.
He knows what I'm going through. Wednesday nights, my schedule changed off, and I know I should go to church, but I'm tired. And it took me a minute because my friend was like, "You should go to church on Sundays." And I'm like, "Well, I used to get off work at 7 in the morning on Sundays, and I got church at 10, so I don't have time to sleep." And you know what? I didn't go to church because I was afraid I was gonna fall asleep.
Right. Right.
I go over to my buddy's house. We should get together. And I was like, honestly, I think God's telling me I really got to go back
Yeah.
to church, even though I work Sunday mornings until 7. And since that day, it's been about maybe 3, maybe 2
Right.
months since I've been going to church daily. And going to church makes me feel like I'm going home. I'm at home because there's no judgment there. There's no like criticizing there because coming from a separate, divorced family, in my culture, there's a lot of trash that goes around. There's a lot of judgment that goes around, and it made me not want to go to church for 2 years, and God made a way for me to go back to church, and you know, I'm just hoping that anyone who does see this video and watches this video, knowing that I know every single church isn't for every single person, but then
Right.
it's like our jobs. If every single job we had is terrible, is it our manager or is it us? Is it God or is it us?
That's right.
And most likely it's us, but then we're just so blind to see that it's so easier to do the wrong thing than do the right thing. All right. Well, you get it later.
It's easier doing the wrong thing because sometimes, cool, we live in a world now where it's like we're doing bad is good and doing good is bad. And sometimes it's almost easy. Like sometimes when I'm on YouTube, man, and I look at some people's channels and I look at the stuff they putting up, and I be like, it was one guy on here one time, he was smoking a blunt and he had like 1,000 something subscribers, but I said that ain't nothing but the devil. And I gotta realize too that we live in spiritual warfare. A lot of people are turned on by bad things because a lot of people grew up in badness, so they feel like that's all that they know. So it's easy to almost fall into that trend of bad, but God don't want us to do that. Because the minute we start doing that, we're maybe working for somebody else may be doing bad, and it'll like bad, good things are happening for them. But the minute you start doing it, you will be punished. So, like Koo just said, y'all, we have to continue to follow the path of righteousness. We got to continue to do that. Don't fall. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Because I'm telling you right now, normally how this works is once you start falling in the path of destruction, uh, you would normally be punished for it because most time, cool, we know better. God knows that we know better, and we only following people just to follow. Most time, those people that are doing those things, they lost in the world. And what's up, Thomas? Thomas, what's going on? I think this is my good friend Thomas right here, cool. What's going on, brother? Y'all welcome Koo in here today. A lot of times we do that. I've tried to do that before where sometimes I see somebody do something on YouTube and I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna try. It don't be nothing bad, but I try to like do like a copycat. What will work for you may not work for somebody else, but you gotta do the right thing, y'all. God don't want us to start following beyond the world. A lot of times, y'all, like I feel like cool that I'm chosen by God. So I feel like when we're chosen, God gives us He gonna give us the most demonic attacks. You ever notice that? Like when you're chosen from God, He gonna put you through the most. He always put the people of God through the most. So just be aware of that. And don't fall short.
But, but I'll be honest with you, Larry. So what you just said is like being a Christian, when you're growing closer to God, Satan, he's gonna try whatever it takes to take you away from
Right, right,
that piece of God. Because honestly, I'll go and I'll sleep over at their place, and I'll get the chills watching me. And it happened more than once. And my friend was like, my best friend, he's sleeping beside me. I'm sleeping in my bed too. And he tells me, he's like, "How'd you sleep last night?" I'm like, "I didn't really sleep because it's like I looked up towards the ceiling and I could see a face. I could feel
right,
something watching me."
right. You ever been
Yeah.
somewhere cool where you know it ain't right when you go? Like you ever been somewhere? I've had this happen to me before. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that, brother. How you doing today? I've been places before where, like, you know it ain't right. God will tell you not to go, but then you'll end up on your way there and it'd be like a car wreck. And we be mad, but we gotta realize that be God's protection over our life. Like if you go somewhere and it be a bad accident, and you be like, I could have been involved in that accident. Like, sometimes if traffic is backed up or something like that, we got to realize that be God protecting us. And sometimes, cool, when you say you feel like somebody watching you sometimes, that be sometimes like God is ashamed of it. You ever, like, sometimes God be ashamed of us what we're doing sometime, and that I think that's why God be watching over us like that. Like, he probably was saying, I'm ashamed of you hanging around that person. I think sometimes, cool, God be ashamed. Like, that's why I say we got to be careful of the company we keep. Because sometimes, you ever been around certain people where you can like feel demonic energies? You ever been like that where you can feel like demonic spirits on people?
Oh yeah, because majority of my friends, they're non-Christians. They still carry the same tradition
Right,
that I used to carry, and they give their whole house, they give their family to Satan. And honestly, if you look at my hand, my wrists, and my culture, I'm still in the old tradition, you'll see like a little red rope around my
right,
wrist. And honestly, since I was 13, 7, around then, my parents, they stopped doing that tradition. And you know, I still get invited to a lot of these parties, and I ask, like, they'll be like, "Who? Can you grace the
right,
food before we eat?" And
right, mhm,
like, there's no way, uh, the bad groups in our way, and at times
you,
the best we could do is.
yeah. And one thing I'm gonna say right quick, cool, because I'm gonna have to end it here in a minute. I'm gonna have to go back to work. But one thing I will say here, you ever notice you ever prayed about something that for God to take it away from you, and what normally happens, the devil be right there. Like, some people may have a problem with drinking, some people may have a problem with uh, you know, lusting. But you'll notice once you pray about it, the devil be right there. I think a lot of times that be God testing us. You agree with that?
Oh yeah, because God only gives us what we can handle, and we don't know what we can handle, but God does know. And like, I know you say we gotta go back to work in a few minutes, and before we end this, how about this? Let me go ahead and pray for us to close,
There
because
you go. I was just about
I
to.
know there's a lot of prayer that needs to happen. So, all right,
Okay, go
all
ahead.
right. Thank you, God, for this wonderful day, letting us have this day, for me to Larry to have a live video chat, live broadcasting about our lives today, having trust, having faith, being patient, and knowing what to do and what not to do. Continue to send your protection, your angels to watch over us as we go our daily lives, as we go back to work. Give us the strength to overcome all our weaknesses. Give us the strength to know from wrong and from right. And, well, I'm gonna give it to Larry, and Larry can close it out.
All right, y'all. That was actually a great prayer right there, man. That was a great prayer. But I'm gonna, since he invited me to do a prayer, so I'm gonna do one too. Okay, y'all bow your heads. We gonna do one more prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this day that was not promised. Let us see it anyhow. Lord, I know that there's somebody out there who's going through a struggle right now. Somebody out there going through financial situations and stuff. Somebody out there thinking about committing suicide, Lord. But let them find some way to get on this channel today, Lord. Let them find a way to get on this channel and watch this video, Lord. If they got that gun in their hand, let them put it down. If they're thinking about jumping over that bridge, Lord, let them watch this video. Let this video pop up on their feed right now, Lord, and let them come to you right now, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Cool. Thank you for being on here today.
Yeah.
Welcome,
Yep.
Cool, on here.
I'll see
All
you
right.
next time, man.
Peace. Y'all take care. Love all y'all. Blessings. Peace.
Take care.